The latest book is called Archaeology of Light. It's a book of basically love poems and some poems of social issues. It's published by Cross Cultural Communications in the United States. The editor is Stan Barkin. Okay, so the variety of different types of poems, they are influenced by surrealism, they're influenced by Garcia Lorca, they're influenced by a lot of translations, and some by my travels in India, things like that. Those would be the topics and subjects of the works that you would find in Archaeology of Light. And it has to do also with my past. The archaeology part is the digging into the light that one remembers in one's earliest memories, and so there's a lot of childhood memories that come up as well. The first-person narrations, some of them, and some are just descriptive poems. The thing about the book that's also a little bit unique is it has some of my own collages in it. So I've done the artwork. I've also laid the book out, so I've learned, I've been producing books for a long time, and I've mastered those skills as well. So it's a very personal statement. It's as personal as you can get. I took the photograph on the cover in Shanghai in a Taoist temple. It's eyes with hands coming out of them for the idea of light being worked on like an archaeologist would do. And in general, it's probably the best book that I've written to date. I'll read you something that's, we could say, is closest to a credo or belief system that is behind these poems. And that's this poem towards the beginning of the book called To Praise and to Forgive. Out of the rope's waiting embrace and the knot's memory of darkness, teach what it means to use hands. Help to gather everything lost and useless with words that will guard what is most alive. From the young gossiping and the old remembering, dare to hide nothing till the young grow fond of remembering and the old at last forget. Claim the right to praise, returning even from what cannot be solved or saved with abundance of kindness. Risk everything to offer, to strengthen, to forgive. Speak only to unite the one waiting with the one who could wait no more, to connect the loved one with the one loving. I don't write in any form myself. I do have a book coming out which is called Whatever Nakedness Will Allow, which is the first and only book I've ever written of haikus, and they're basically descriptive or erotic, one of the two kinds in that book. So that's the only time that I've actually used the form. And even when I write haikus, they're not structured haikus, they're free-form haikus. They don't follow the syllabic pattern that a usual haiku has, except by accident. Yes, in terms of writing, I don't follow form. I'm not a formalist, so free verse is basically, the lines will be varied in their length, so free verse is what I practice more. It's an interesting thing about writing. Poems don't all come the same way. Some poems come almost in one sitting, almost by magic, and this is what other poets have called the muse, because it comes out all in one of a piece, as if it was planned for you to write that. It's very strange when that happens. Very few poems come to me that way. My poems are chiseled slowly and worked on and reworked, and so there's a process that I go through. I'll start with a couple of stanzas, and those will either be subtracted down to one line or added on to if they're good enough, and so it's a give and take. So there's really there's no one way that any of the poems have been written. In general, though, they tend to be longer works that start and have gone through the process of being a few lines and then a few stanzas and then polished a little more, and then finally ready to go, ready to be published. Well, I think that a good poem should have a little bit of both, right? I think that the imagination and your vision and your voice, the particular way that you look at the universe, is the primary goal of what a poet is trying to achieve. It's trying to communicate in a way that no one else does, that creates a flavor or rasa that's different from every other poet. But I think also part of what happens in a poem has to be from your own experience and has to be something that has relevance for you. I have another poem that would show you a little bit different. And so this is a poem written about an experience of poverty, and this came almost all in one sitting. It was one of those magical times when just everything falls together. This is called Song of the Lost Daughter. Hair of rope dragged along the ground. I sleep in rags, huddled in a cardboard box, dreaming of shoes, candy, and clean water. My father disappeared looking for work. My mother searching for food. Now little brother brings me brackish water, and I hold him like a blessing while he sleeps. Too scared to search for firewood, too weak to beg for food, too tired for a lullaby. Hair of rope dragged along the ground, my emaciated body too thin for an embrace. There's a wide expanse of kinds of people, and I think the market is growing, as a matter of fact. I think it's a larger market than it is here in India, and I think poets in the United States have a little bit more respect than they do here in India, or respected a little bit more. Certainly poets tend to teach a little bit more in the universities, where there's a whole section of studies now in MFA writing as a career, and teaching creative writing as a way of living and earning money instead of having a second job, instead of doing writing as a second job or a weekend job. Poetry is my main concern. I do interviews with some artists and other poets and novelists from time to time, but essentially, yes, I write poetry. I do some translation. I've translated a book of Hafez with a colleague by the name of Mahmoud Karimi Hakak in America. We work together on translations from Persian, the two of us, and I've worked on other translations, but basically the poetry is my main concern.